You are listening to TechVibe Pittsburgh. It's your front row seat to Pittsburgh's technology and innovation ecosystem. In today's show, I'm just really fired up because we have some amazing companies that are just outside of Pittsburgh that are doing work that just needs to have a spotlight put directly on it. And a company that I'm talking about today is Concurrent Technologies Corporation. We call them CTC. They're based out in Johnstown. You don't know them. This is kind of a very generic sentence to describe them. And of course, our conversation today is going to really bring the thing to life. But they're an independent, nonprofit, applied scientific and research development organization. And they do some work that just keeps our country safe. It innovates. It does some amazing things. And we're going to be talking to Ed Sheehan today and Tim Tibbetts, who are going to give us just a full tour of what's going on within CTC. So if you keep on listening, you're going to learn about its mission, its people, and its purpose. And also, of course, talking about the technology and the innovation and the regional impact that this place has had for a very long time. So Ed and Tim, welcome to the show today. I'm so happy to have you here. We got a lot of ground to cover. But before we do that, let's just start with introduction so our listeners know who's who and what's what. So Ed, let's start with you. Tell us all about yourself.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And we appreciate our relationship with Pittsburgh Technology Council. And Jonathan, thank you for taking the time to visit with us. I am president and CEO at Concurrent Technologies Corporation. I've been an employee here for over 32 years, have been the CEO since 2008. And have had my professional career really focusing in areas of technology and technology development, technology utilization. Grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, moved to Western Pennsylvania back in 1990, and have been here ever since. So it's been a great run, and we really enjoy what we do at CTC. We have some of the best people that you'll ever find, most innovative type of people, and really committed to the work that we do.
Absolutely. And Tim, tell us about yourself. A rumor has it you've got some cool stories to tell, but that might be for a separate podcast.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks for having us. Yeah, this is my 18th year at CTC. I'm the vice president of the Engineering and Advanced Manufacturing Division. Previous to that, I spent 28 years in the United States Navy and naval aviation, which was enjoyable and some cool stories, as you suggest. And I grew up outside of our rival city, Cleveland, Ohio. So
we're glad you're here in the Pittsburgh, Johnstown area doing what you. That is fantastic. So to get things rolling, Ed, I really want you to tell me, just give our listeners really the good elevator pitch for what Concurrent Technologies is. Like I said, I kind of gave that generic thing, but you can give us the full color, high def version of what CTC is all about.
Yeah. So our mission as an organization is to develop and deliver advanced technology-based solutions that protect national security, preserve the U.S. technological advantage, and strengthen American manufacturing, because we know that's such a critical part of our economy. And when we talk about national security, we think about defense systems and protecting our nation's borders and things like that. But it's also very important to have a strong economy, a vibrant economy. And so manufacturing jobs are very important because you're building things, but it also has spin-off jobs. And so for every manufacturing job that's created, there are spin-off jobs, and the economists estimate that there may be 6 spin-off jobs for every 1 manufacturing job. So not only do we want to work on, making our weapon systems perform better to help increase lethality, increase survivability for the benefit of our warfighters. We never want to fight their fight. We always want to maintain that clear superiority for the benefit of our warfighter. But you also want to have a strong economy that as we continue to grow as a nation, it's both of those things. So we're pleased to participate in both of those areas.
We're glad you're participating in those areas. Not just participating, you guys are making a difference. And really, I think you're driving something that people are recognizing and being like, this is something that has to keep growing and needs to be continually invested in. I'm curious, how many folks work at CTC? You have a cadre of people out there. I've visited a few times, and I'm always like a campus out there for crying out loud.
We have about 500 employees, and we have folks located certainly here in Western Pennsylvania, but we have people all around the country. We have offices primarily in the East. We're in Johnstown. We're in the National Capital Region near some of the major government installations, both at the national security level as well as the Department of Defense. And then we have offices in Huntsville, Alabama, Panama City, Florida, and some other locations. And we have folks that are on base, on bases and other government installations. And then we have people that just live all around the nation that contribute to our overall technical capability. So these are folks that can work from home. And we really appreciate the fact that we're able to pull expertise from all around the country and serve the needs of our organization.
That's amazing. I didn't realize how far out that you spread like that. That is news to me. I knew you had like lots of people. I didn't realize how you're able to do that in different parts of the country like that. One of the biggest things that we love is your connection to Pittsburgh. There's such a deep tie there. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Naturally, the connection to Pittsburgh is critical. I think we started in 1987 and shortly thereafter became a member of the Pittsburgh Tech Council. And, we clearly, when we started, we were actually a subsidiary of the University of Pittsburgh Trust. And so for a long, long time, we've had a strong relationship with Pittsburgh and its business leaders and educational and academic leadership. So that's always been important to us. And we appreciate that. And I think the folks that we work with in the Pittsburgh community appreciate the things that we do. We also have a very strong relationship with the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown. A number of our employees have come from the Pitt system, as well as Penn State and other major universities throughout the region.
That's impressive. And I'm assuming, obviously, so much has to have changed since 1987 as to how you operate. What has the change been? I mean, obviously, during your tenure and during Tim's tenure for 18 years, I'm sure much has changed just to adapt and evolve to how the world has changed, right?
It really is. You think back to the late 80s and the internet was not really around and the web was not around. And so people were doing business much differently. And the types of problems that we were challenged and faced with were different because at that point, we were still just in the final phases of the Cold War. So a lot of the national strategy was around how do you defend our nation in the midst of this Cold War? And then the wall fell and a lot of things changed. And then we went through a significant defense reduction, a reduction in defense spending, the peace dividend it was referred to. And that made it a challenge for a lot of the defense industry, and we saw a lot of consolidation. And so what we tried to do is continue to look long-term, look at what was happening in technology development. What are the kind of things that universities were investing in and the types of technology that they were developing and how might we incorporate that as an applied R&D into solving not only the problems that people saw on the horizon, but beyond the horizon. And that's always what we've I think that's one of the reasons why we're so innovative is we have such talented people that can see that far into the future to determine what are the kind of things that we're going to be facing in the future from our adversaries and in some cases from within our nation. What are the kind of things that we have to protect against? And so that has really been the evolution, but I really credit our employees for how much they can change and how they see the future.
Let's talk about your people, because I look at guys like Tim here, with wonderful tenure in the military and so many folks at CTC having military backgrounds. I think it brings this extra edge, this extra drive and dynamic to CTC. I'm just so curious about what that really drives your mission and how I think it intensifies your mission. Tim, please tell me about that a little bit.
Well, we do have a strong military ethos, a lot of veterans, a lot of people currently serving. I think that comes out in our work. There's a sense of purpose by those people, both with their experience, and we try whenever we can to get uniformed people into our facilities to talk to our people about what the end result of the things that they make or build are on the military, which is also important. So we have a lot of employees that are in the National Guard or the reserves, veterans, families, et cetera, like we talked about. And I think that just makes them personally understand what's at stake and that our solutions have to work because a lot of times somebody's life depends on it.
That's such an important point. And what actually I think is, as this is kind of gelling in my head, and I just realized how this is such a special sauce, for lack of a better term, that CTC has, is the fact that your folks know how this stuff has to operate in the field and that lives are literally on the line here. So that extra drive, that extra care is going to go into that project because they know that this thing just not only has to work, it has to work 110%. So I think that's got to be something that just really sets you apart from anyone else that's out there building similar types of solutions in the marketplace. So that's got to be a lot of fun. You're coming to work with a lot of pride, knowing that what you're doing is legit. Yeah, this is something that is really, making our country, awesome, for lack of a better term.
And I would just add on to what Tim said, and that is because of our nonprofit status, we don't have any shareholders, so we can afford to go after really tough problems. We don't have to be concerned about reputational risk. If a for-profit company that makes products, if they try to do something and they're not successful, big reputational hit for them, and their shareholders, might become a little concerned. Whereas we're able to take on really challenging problems and evolve a solution that is going to benefit not only the next generation, but the generation after that. And I think the point that Tim made, we have between 15 and 20% of our population of our employees are veterans. And so they influence, not only from a leadership perspective, but the mission. And so that's really important. And when people come to work every day, they know that what they do is so critically important to our national security, but to our warfighters, and in so many different ways, keeping them safe while they're home and while they're training and preparing, and in other cases, having the best weapon systems that are going to keep them safe and allow them to execute their mission. So it's really an honor and a privilege for us to serve in that capacity. And so many of our people feel that, especially for the folks who have served in the military, they feel it's another way to continue serving their country. For a lot of our people who didn't serve, it's a way to serve our country. So really a lot of pride. And again, I'm just so proud of our team, and they do such a great job. And now, we've been around for almost 40 years. A number of our employees have children who are now adults, and many of those children are serving in the military. And so our most recent annual report really focused on some of those next generation warfighters who are very close to all of us. And so it is personal.
Yeah, this runs in your blood over there. That's 100% sure. You brought up a really interesting point, the idea that you don't have shareholders, so you can take on some of these riskier projects where, you can kind of hang it out there and take that risk to go the extra mile without that worry that something doesn't work, that it's going to somehow tarnish your reputation or something like that. This is a perfect segue to talk about some of the cool technology and innovation that you are up to right now, because there's so much we couldn't possibly get through all of it. But I think there's some key things that probably really stand out to you that, I think could maybe really just showcase some of the complexity and it's just the sheer vastness of your work there at CTC.
Sure. And I'll touch on several of those areas, and then Tim can talk more specifically about the engineering and advanced manufacturing division that he leads. We do a fair amount of work in the digital solutions area, which is IT, cybersecurity. We do a lot of work in readiness, preparation, force protection, and then energy, environment, resilience, sustainability are still very important because they contribute to the overall mission assurance activities of our warfighters. And again, I think the thing that we're so good at is being able to, conceive of a solution, design the solution, test it, then develop it, and then as we move into low rate initial production or testing or creating a minimum viable product, those are all the kind of things we can do. And then we have a for-profit technology transition affiliate by the name of Enterprise Ventures Corporation, where we can transition solutions that are in the case of production activities, they can be carried on within our family. And so we continue to see that project through. So we can do the design, development, the low rate initial production, all the way to full scale production, sustainment, and then eventual disposition, all in one organization. And so it's a unique offering that we're very proud of, but we do have, as I mentioned, those different areas within the technical scope of our company. And again, digital mission solutions, energy resilience and sustainability, engineering and advanced manufacturing readiness solutions. And I think that another thing that I'm so proud of, and Tim is certainly one of those people, but it's the way that our leadership works across the organization by sharing those technical capabilities. So as an example, Tim is pulling in cybersecurity capability into his world, where we talk about advanced material science, advanced manufacturing processes to ensure that the solutions we're developing with our CNC machining capability or additive manufacturing capability or friction stir welding is not being influenced or being penetrated by cybersecurity attacks, and that the equipment is not being, malware is not being introduced into the equipment. So again, those are things that are very comprehensive in nature that, again, is another discriminator for us as a company.
That is amazing. Something I would have never thought about, but yeah, that makes so much sense. There might be some helicopters circling still from time to time, wondering how do we get into this place. And Tim's on the job to make sure that they don't. So that's really cool. You're not only
Yeah.
making the stuff, but you're making sure that no one can learn how you're making this stuff. That's crazy and very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So Tim, why don't you talk about some of the things that you've got?
Yeah, so I think in the engineering and advanced manufacturing division, Jonathan, we really address complex problems where engineering precision meets sort of real world mission needs. Ed talked about the history of our company. Our expertise in the engineering and advanced manufacturing division always has been and always will be in metals. We have a deep experience in systems engineering and in design, and particularly in design for manufacturability, because at the end of the day, if we can't get it out of the lab into the hands of somebody who can use it, like we talked about, it's really not worth all that much. Our team does a lot of work on lightweighting, survivability, mobility, operational energy, advanced prototyping. And I think in summary, we really specialize in bringing those ideas from concept or design through the lab and into a physical prototype quickly and effectively.
You make it sound so easy. But I know, obviously,
I can assure you it's not.
Absolutely. Each of these things, each step along the way there is just so complex while you're managing multiple projects, all at the same time. Something that has me really interested is we've talked about a lot of the tech councils and things around additive manufacturing, and just curious what you guys are doing in those terms. I know that's something that is really revolutionizing your industry and other industries that are feed into it and so forth.
Yeah, additive manufacturing, 3D printing, as some call it, is really, I think, transforming how we approach low volume, high precision parts. So, especially for legacy systems where the original manufacturer is likely out of business, where the original designs for the parts likely don't exist. And there's a lot of issues with process parameters on various machines to get those things qualified, particularly in environments that are risky, like flying or space travel. And we do a lot of work in that area. So I think additive manufacturing is a really exciting space that really hasn't reached its potential yet fully at the Department of Defense.
Well, I'm always curious how you're able to, keep that net out to see the technologies that are coming, and then being able to sort out the ones that you can use and then bring them in and put them into your processes and so forth in order to make sure that you can do the best possible job. Yeah.
There's a lot of great work being done, I think, across industry. We as a nonprofit belong to a lot of associations and consortia where we share information with our sometimes what we call competitive mates, partners and teammates who will also sometimes compete against for work. But there's a lot of really good work being done, and particularly I think here in southwestern Pennsylvania.
You feel like Southwestern Pennsylvania, with our industrial roots that we have, I think that's something that's really been an asset to us as we kind of marry that with this leading edge technology. Is that something that you think really is a secret sauce for us once again that allows the region and you guys to kind of be on that leading edge of innovation?
I absolutely do.
Yeah,
Being based here in Western Pennsylvania, strong regional talent base, and particularly that manufacturing heritage over the years.
totally.
I think I told you, you can cut this part out of the podcast, but I think I told you I grew up in Cleveland, our sister city, and it's just the same kind of ethos there. It's just that Midwestern get her done attitude.
I love it, man. I think that's what makes our whole region so special is that we still have some dirt under our fingernails, and it's totally cool because we like making stuff. That's for sure. I love it. I'm just curious, maybe could you walk us through a recent project so we can really kind of grasp something that really made an impact that you could say, this is something that Concurrent Technology Corporation's made. It's out there, helping the Army, or it's saving lives, or it's doing something great.
Yeah, a couple. We recently have done a modular hybrid energy solution that we developed for some defense clients, particularly the Air Force. And it's rugged, scalable, deployable. We also are in the midst of doing some advanced prototypes for some lightweight military structures, particularly armor panels using friction stir welding and some novel materials and some novel welding techniques. And most of those, I can't go into too much detail in interest of time here, but I think the thing I'm most proud of again is that we don't get stuck into just lab bound ideas. We like to get things into the hand of warfighters. And as we talked about previously, Ed mentioned our military ethos, and that's one of the things I'm most proud of, particularly as a veteran, is we actually send our folks out into the field with their military counterparts to work directly on these prototypes that we make and get direct feedback from the users. And I think that makes
Oh,
us
that's
better in our mission, and it makes our solutions better.
100%, 100%.
And it's so cool that the two projects that Tim referenced, that,
Yeah.
in the case of the Air Force with the hybridization, that's basically allowing systems to operate with either a traditional fuel source like diesel or electric. And so,
Okay.
and they operate very differently. They're much quieter in electric mode, and operators tend to like those things. But it gives us a lot of flexibility. And in the case of some of the unique welding on lightweight structures, a lot of the push is to take weight out of military vehicles so that they can do more things. And so using lighter weight materials sometimes requires new joining capabilities, because you don't want to introduce as much heat into the welding process because it can distort the materials. And so this friction stir welding that Tim mentioned allows us to do that. That actually makes those materials more ballistically strong and more likely to survive a blast. And so that's the unique value add that we can do. And to Tim's point, we'll go out and be with our military personnel to see how it works, to see the testing. And we also have a lot of that capability in-house. We do our own testing. We can verify that what we do actually works. So again, it's just such a unique organization. So proud of it. I'll mention one of the other things we recently did with the Energy Resilience and Sustainability Division. We supported the Air Force effort to spearhead the first nuclear microreactor pilot at Eielson Air Force Base up in Alaska, leading to the development of a nuclear program framework to scale nuclear energy deployment in the Department of Defense. So that's a big deal. Nuclear power, it represents about 20% of our energy portfolio in this country and throughout the world. And so we're helping to use the next generation of nuclear capability, nuclear power, in these micro reactors, smaller systems that can provide a lot of energy, and there's a lot of benefits to it as well. So really excited about that. And then one of the other things that our digital mission solutions team did was to help guide us through the cybersecurity maturity module certification process. We were one of 35 companies to receive a level 2 certification out of approximately 13,000. So again, a very unique capability, but very important because of the type of work we do. So we really do a lot. We spend a lot of time in the readiness area, helping to work to reduce injuries, improve mission readiness, because when you need to deploy people, you've got to be able to count on them being fit and ready to go and well trained so that they can do what they need to do and come home safely. And so those are just some.
You guys talk about this stuff. It really is the capabilities are just crazy, from, mixed welding that actually makes a panel stronger and more lightweight to protect our troops, to being able to come up with micro nuclear solutions to power bases and so forth. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's happening just 60 miles outside of Pittsburgh and Johnstown over there. And I know so much of this happens because you are huge collaborators. Tell me about some of the collaboration you do, and also the workforce development that you guys have been doing as well too, in order to have the folks that can come into these labs and build these awesome solutions.
So I think because of the nature of our nonprofit status and the fact that we're an applied R&D organization, and the fact that we started from an academic institution, the University of Pittsburgh, I think that workforce development, that continuous learning, continuous improvement has always been a core part of who we are as an organization. And so, we obviously we like to hire interns and then convert them to full-time employees. We count on a lot of our academic institutions of higher learning in this region and throughout the country to help support that. And then we have the type of talent within the company that can help people learn on the job. And that's, I think, again, one of the benefits that we provide as an organization is, you can learn a lot about the physics or the laws of nature around material science, characterization, things like that, but their application is so important. And when Tim talks about additive manufacturing, there are a lot of people that can do additive manufacturing, 3D printing, but knowing the material science around what's the best material to use and how do I test it and how is it going to perform on a long-term basis and what's the environmental impact? Is it a hazardous material or is there something better that we can use? And how do we share that information? Those are all the kind of things we do. And again, our people are very good at kind of expanding how people think about those kinds of things. And that's all part of the workforce development, because we'll hire mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, we'll hire computer scientists, software developers, but then that training, that on-the-job training and molding is, I think, one of the things that we're very good at.
Oh, 100%. And Tim, your position has to be so unique in the fact that like you're leading these teams of engineers like this. You got some really talented women and men that are working for you. What's your approach to harnessing their power and then taking them to the next level to make these projects happen?
Well, communication is key, which is increasingly difficult in today's too much communication world. But I think that's key. Mutual trust amongst each other that the person next to you is just going to get their job done. And, in my position, you need to be able to give people room to fail and room to innovate. It's going to happen in our R&D environment, and just take stock and what do we need to do next? So we tried to foster a culture where it's safe to experiment like that. But obviously mission focus always comes first, and the end goal, we need to keep the end goal in mind. And then last, as Ed mentioned, I think the collaboration across the entirety of our company is really where we bring strength to a lot of problems, because a lot of the issues that are in advanced manufacturing require digital solutions, require the right workforce training that we talked about. So I think we're best when we, as I say, when we hunt in packs, when we put the entirety of our company against a problem.
Very cool. I have so many key takeaways from this conversation. I mean, first, my mind is just blown by the assortment and level of technicality within the projects that you have. To me, is just amazing. Then my mind is blown because all these things are keeping our troops safe. They're keeping our country safe. But the thing that really always rings with me is whenever I interview folks that have a company and they have this like workforce, these workers who are just inspired and charged up. And that's what I see at Concurrent Technologies Corporations. It's the fact that you have so many folks that have served in the military, and they're taking that enthusiasm and that passion and they're putting into their job because they know the consequences of what your solutions do. I'm just curious, what advice could you give to other leaders out there that want to build something nearly as cool as the culture that you guys have built at CTC? Because I do believe you built something that's very unique. And I do believe there's some takeaways that maybe someone could kind of learn from, maybe try to apply that to what they're doing. Like, I think there's some great learning points here. I'd love to hear from each of you.
But I think, as I look at it, I think it starts with authentic leadership. I think, you want to create a vision and a mission for your organization, a sense of purpose that, there's a need for, and then being true to that mission, being authentic in how you lead people, and not just chasing money. And I think one of the things that we try and do is always stay within the vision and mission of our organization. And to Tim's point, communication is so critical. I think being open with our employees, with good news and bad news, and basically saying, we weren't successful in this effort, and here's our game plan going forward, and here's what we want to do to go a different direction or what have you. So I think those are some pretty critical things. I think living your values. I think one of the things that's very important to us is being humble, being respectful, being passionate about, what we do. And I know you've experienced this, Jonathan, when you visited with us, our people love to talk about what they do, and you get a sense, man, they own this, and that's really hard to do when you're a nonprofit that there is no ownership. But when you get people to feel like they own this solution, they own this mission, they own this vision for this company, that's a big deal. And so it takes, I think, special leadership. It takes special people to serve, and it's just a great opportunity. So those are I think about it. And I think one of the other things that we're very good at, another value, is treating our employees like family. There's a care, about not only getting the work done, but, how are things going, and what are the things that we can do to support one another. And that transcends our company. I mentioned the 500 employees. We're all not in one location. People work from home, people work from different locations. They're on site at government installations. And we help make everybody feel like they're part of this team. And that's a credit to the leadership at every level in this company. And it's a credit to the people who work here, because there's a pull and a push. And I really am quite proud of that. So, Tim, let me turn it over to you.
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all about, as I mentioned, it's all about the people, right? Find the right people, empower them, give them the tools and the space and the trust they need to solve hard problems. And then you'll just stand back and be amazed at what they do.
I love it. I tell you what, the thing that I just pulled from what you guys just talked about is this is kind of magical when I think about this, is the idea that, yeah, you're a nonprofit without owners, but creating that sense of ownership from the employees, that is just magic right there to me, because that is something when you pull that off, you get the best out of people, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very much so. So what I'm curious about is, obviously, people go to your website, which we'll have links to in the description here for the thing. Where can people go and learn more about CTC, of course, and of course about the job opportunities? I know you guys are always hiring. There's always a new project going on, so I know you're always in the proper time. Where can people go and check you out?
www.ctc.com. And we have a lot of information on our website. The job opportunities that you mentioned. We also talk a lot about some of the, the projects that we're working on. We have our annual report out there that I think it's world class. Our annual report has won numerous awards year in and year out, platinum awards, gold awards, and we tell the story really well. And we have a very talented communications group, and they work very hard. And we use social media a lot. We tend to highlight and celebrate our new hires, as well as those who are celebrating anniversaries, 5 years, 10 years, 25, 35 years. And it has a great message to people. If I'm a young person starting out and I see somebody's been there for 35 years, I say to myself, boy, that's a pretty good company. Yeah, that must be a good company, because people stay there and they enjoy the work they do. And for some of our folks who have been here for 35 years, looking around saying, well, gosh, we've got all these people that have all this experience. And we see these young people that are joining our company that bring a different way of thinking, a different way of doing business. That's exciting too. And it keeps all of us vibrant and young at heart. And I think that's really a beautiful model.
Yeah, there's some great vibes coming off this. I can see it. I can sense it. I have sensed it. I've been to your facilities a few times. You guys are an amazing story. I always say this, you're like one of these hidden assets here in the region, and I don't want you to be hidden, which is why we tell these stories at the Tech Council. And I really encourage everyone to go to ctc.com to check you guys out, learn more, because it's an amazing thing going on there. And I've had such a tremendous time talking with you today. Appreciate you hanging out with me here on TechVibe.
Jonathan, thank you so much.
Most definitely. Oh my goodness, so much fun. Love telling these stories. If you want more stories like this, just follow. We are dropping stories about our awesome members at the Tech Council 2 or 3 times a week sometimes. We have so many great stories. In case you forgot, this is Jonathan Kirsten. I'm with the Pittsburgh Technology Council and, of course, TechVibe Radio. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one to give you a front row seat to Pittsburgh's technology and innovation ecosystem.